I clicked the button, preparing to live stream the meeting. Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. It's about halfway through the progress. Redirecting to YouTube. Okay. Okay, now we're on. Let's see.
We're on. So everyone say
Hello.
something.
Hello. Oh no, it's live now?
It's live, but no one knows the link yet.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But it is being recorded already.
posterity.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, I'm not ready. Hold on.
Hi, Mom.
Classic.
Ensuing. Yeah.
Okay. So do we have the link?
Yeah, I just posted it in there.
In where?
I don't see it.
Oh, I put it in the wrong channel, maybe. I thought I put it in general. Yeah.
Wait, you put it in the Slack? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, sorry. Of all the mini tools we
Yeah, no, come on.
Good
I'm going
Lord.
to demonstrate how annoying my dog is.
Oh, hello, annoying dog.
Oh, hello. Quite an annoying dog.
I posted it to the
Well, no, she was putting her gigantic snout under my arm. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, there we go. See that snout?
Yes, that's
a
a
very
long
long
snout. Yeah.
nose that she uses to bother me with. Hi.
All right. Trying to get this all ready. Is anyone here? Oh, we do have someone here.
5 people are watching already.
Okay, I'm putting the show notes in already.
Oh,
Here we
5
go.
people are watching. I mean, come on, that's more than we ever have. So
how did they find
this
us?
is amazing.
How did they find us? I think they're subscribed. They're subscribed.
Oh, no.
They ring the bell.
They're good
Technology.
people.
Hello,
They're geeks,
everyone.
you know?
So that
And
works. We
they're
don't have to
stalking
announce
us
it.
as well. Yeah.
They've hacked our system is what they're all in our they've pawned our boxes.
Pwned.
Pwned. Yeah, sorry. Pwned.
If they pawned them, then they sold them for
Yeah.
less
They
money
pawned
than
them,
you
then
presumably
they
get on
sold
Craigslist.
Yeah, I don't have the leap down. I don't actually have any friends who would understand what pwned means, so I've never actually said it out loud. Only
think I
on
have
the
either.
internet, where I exist as a text-only avatar. All right, we're starting.
I think we're ready. Yeah.
Eric, last week,
Alright.
Eric, or last time, Mia was Eric. Maybe it's, are you back as Eric now, Eric?
Eric's Eric today.
I'm myself today.
All right.
Was I pwned? Was my
Ah,
Yes,
yes.
you were totally pawned.
oh no, my user
Now you're doing a
account.
cell phone.
All right. Hello and welcome to Apropos, the show that is always at least 10 minutes late because of technical difficulties. A conversation between Clojure programmers that you can join in live on YouTube if you can figure out the link, because we can't sometimes. We're going to discuss a few Clojure news items and share our opinions on them. I don't know if we're going to do the REPL today.
That's too much to ask for.
Yeah, we can't even do the video part.
No, the REPL was really good last time. It's fine.
Okay,
screen
we'll do the
sharing is
REPL.
really,
I think you're
really
asking
good.
for too much, Ray.
Suddenly, everyone, we're not doing the REPL today. Everyone leaves the chat. Zero
Close
watching
tab.
now.
Okay, if you're joining us live, feel free to comment and we'll try to address the questions. Okay, here we go. We're good. We have show notes today. Let's check them out.
Did those work?
Yes,
Where
this
are
is just an
Did you print them out?
unchanging interface.
I mean, I think
Yes.
they're on the. Oh no, the show notes are even in the correct. Wow, good
Oh,
job.
yeah. Oh yeah, active fast.
Wow.
Actually editing the YouTube description is easy. It's everything else that's hard. Getting video into it, that's the hard part. So the conch is coming up. Who's going?
Crickets.
I wanted to go.
Like to.
I'm going.
Oh, wow.
I'm excited. Yeah,
Is it at the end of November?
Nice time for me.
next week.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to go, but my husband committed us to visiting his grandmother in Missouri for Thanksgiving, and I can't take that many days.
Uh-huh.
So
grandmother.
It's kind of tough having it so close to Thanksgiving. Because then,
Yeah.
you're traveling 2 weeks in a row, and that's when you're on a deadline, it's hard to justify.
Yeah. Huh, I never thought of that. Has it always been this late?
I don't think so.
I know it's been like on the 22nd before, a couple years ago.
Yeah, and they seem to be, I mean, this is the second year in a row that it's in the same place.
I am pro Durham. They should leave it in
You like
Durham,
Durham?
for forever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is one of the rare places that has a direct flight to New Orleans. So I was happy about that.
If you
I've
build
never
it, they will
been.
come.
Never been to Durham, so.
It's
Like
very
it.
nice.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving a talk. I'm just going to be,
You can relax. Yeah.
creeping around, talking to people.
Yeah. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You can rep the show.
Yeah. Maybe we'll broadcast from there next Thursday. No, is it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. We'll do one of those. Okay. So I guess y'all aren't as excited as I am because I actually have to get ready for it.
Well, I think it's quite exciting because often they have some like insights, thoughts, keynotes. I'm quite looking forward to seeing, like, maybe they've got Spec 2 ready.
Spec 3.
They could be Spec beta.
Spec 3 is already out in alpha. No, that's a joke, people.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
But yeah, I mean, maybe they've got some news about the spec because that would be nice.
It's true.
That's
Because
really-
we learned about Spec 2 last year at the conch.
By the way, Mike, can you go to gallery view, by the way, while we're streaming this? Because I think it's a bit of a nicer perspective.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, you can see everybody at once.
Okay.
I believe that was only a year ago.
Only a year ago, or already a whole year, like that we still don't have it. It's all perspective.
Well, we've got parts of it,
Yeah, it's out. It's out. I'm trying to see who's speaking. Do we have a? It doesn't look like we have a Rich Hickey talk.
Oh man,
That'd
be cool.
I mean, they could always change that, but it's not on the schedule. And then the keynote is by Matthew Flatt, who is from the Racket community.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so it's called A Racket Perspective on Research, Education, and Production.
Wow, imagine being named Matt Flat your entire life.
That would be nice.
At least it's not Map Flat, because that would be flat map
Pat.
flat.
Mapcat Matt Flat. I bet he gets a lot of
There could be a Mia command somewhere in core.
I
Yeah.
bet he gets a lot of
Whoa.
Matt Flack for that.
Alex Miller has a talk. That's good. He's probably going to talk about spec.
Yeah. That
Well-
would be my money on that one. Yeah.
The others just look like, generic talks, which all look nice, but just normal talks, not keynotes or.
Anything on Datomic?
Yeah, there's actually a day of Datomic before, or like
That's
Datomic
something.
training.
I'd really like to get to that. We use Datomic pretty heavily here. I've never used it before.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, I've been using it too. Are there any books on it?
No.
Can I go old school and read a book?
I definitely walked into it thinking like, oh, I've been doing Clojure. Like Datomic should be really easy to just walk into, and I'll immediately understand it. I'll understand everything about it. It's just data. It's all just data. Code is data. Data is code. But there's kind of a learning curve. It'd be nice to have that. Yeah. And I don't.
I think that.
Go on.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say they do have a lot of the talks already streamed, and obviously there's documentation as well and tutorials and stuff like that.
But is there
But
a
it
book?
is not a drop in for Clojure, that's for sure. It's all logic programming, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah.
I have used Datomic at a couple of companies, and it definitely has a learning curve. The documentation is not. The documentation is good for reference if you're like, oh, how do I do that thing again that I already know how to do, but I just can't remember the name.
Yeah.
But it's not great for like getting into it.
Tutorial.
The people I know who are really into it, they are like always in the chat room and the mailing list, and that's how they learn what's going on and how to do stuff. Which is I just never have been able to do that. To actually work and keep like part of my brain like in a chat room all the time.
Yeah.
I guess my brain is not that smart. But that seems to be like how people have become good at it is by being in a chat room.
Well, there's that truly
I don't think
excellent.
that's the only way. I mean,
There's
come
that
on.
excellent learn data log tutorial. There's a data log tutorial that's really, really good. But I'm with Mike. I'd like a book.
I want a book too.
I want a book.
I could just ask David Nolan. He worked on it, but I don't want to bug the crap out of him.
Wait, he worked on a book or he worked on Datomic?
Datomic. So
I would love to make a Datomic course, but I don't know it well enough, and so I'd have to partner with someone, and then it's just I have plans to partner. I know who I would partner with. I have plans, but it's just plans right now.
It seems pretty stable. It doesn't seem like it's going away. It's nice. It's a good solution for a lot of things, not just. I'm sure it's even good for teams that aren't using Clojure. I want a book.
So, and also like, I don't know, Eric, if you feel this way, but like the book market is kind of broken. Like if you want to say, hey, if you know Datomic, take some time and go write a book. I'm like, well, you're not going to get paid, so you got to do it for other reasons, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Talk for those of us who don't know about the book market. Please elaborate.
Yeah, books aren't a good way to make money.
Right. If you're trying to justify spending the time to write the thing.
Right. I mean, some books do take off and are, highly profitable, but especially for a niche database like Datomic, there's probably not enough people out there. And then the ironic thing is, you could, video courses do better in terms of like profit, because you can price them higher, but they take less time to do. And then workshops, you can charge $500 for a 1-day workshop.
Yeah.
And it takes way less time than writing a book.
And is the book market broken because of the publishers breaking it, or is it because the market is not paying for the books? Or because I would pay for a Datomic book right now. I would plop down to 50 books, but it's a small market for Datomic.
It's a small market.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue.
The problem with books, I listened to a podcast about the pragmatic people recently who obviously started a lot of this stuff, and they were saying that they had to basically use a new workflow for books for their book. You've just written a book, Eric, so maybe you had to say.
Still writing, not done.
Okay, but they were saying they wanted to use an agile workflow with source code control and like standard layout models and stuff like that. But the book company are not into that. They have their own process. So there's a kind of like clash, if you like, between like the development of the material and how you share it and collaborate on it versus how it gets published. So there's that aspect. And then there's also the problem that, like it or not, stuff like software changes quite a lot. And so...
Well, all the more reason to have a fast flow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get it out to publication.
For sure. Yeah. And that's why people do early access stuff like you've done,
It is really interesting seeing this kind of evolution of publishing through something like LeanPub. Which allows you to just continuously publish updated editions to people who are basically subscribing to the book.
Right.
I mean, I remember when Zach was writing his books, like, there was always a new version to go look at. And it's interesting to see the version control principles applied to publishing, but yeah, publishers that are just doing actual dead tree publishing, there's no concept of that, and it's expensive, right? I mean, doing a version controlled dead tree version would be very expensive. You only want to publish the final version that way.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, like working with a publisher, they've been great, but like I look at it and I'm like, I don't know how you make money. Like, all the expenses, every time there's a change, they have to go through layout and go through all these manual procedures. I'm like, I mean, already the book only costs what, $40. You know, how many do you have to sell to make up what it took to do this one release? Like, it's kind of nuts.
Well, and there's a lot of
thing.
Yeah, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say the other thing is that there's a difference between like let's say conceptual level books like Zach's book and like your book, Eric, and then like the Atomic, which is a product level book.
Yeah,
because
which changes.
You know, people they give you an example of something, and then there's a new version that changes this syntax. I mean, the pull syntax didn't exist at the beginning. You know, that would have been a bad one. I think it's pretty stable now by the looks of things, but of course they're constantly adding features, and you know, the cloud thing makes it very different. How do you do, you know, ions and all this kind of stuff? That's quite a big change in the last what, 18 months?
But what it comes down to is, you know, there's sort of the same question around open source, right? I mean, these are things that would be good for people who need to use them, and that would be a net good to have around, but there's no financial incentive for them. So what kinds of incentives could there be? And is the financial incentive is not necessarily the best way to look at what's good for the community.
Well, the way I look at it is that the people who wrote Atomic should write a good manual, and I don't think it's an excuse not to have one. So I think it's somewhat annoying that there isn't a sort of good online guide by Cognitect about Atomic, because I think that they're leaving money on the table there by not making it easy for people to get started.
Well, so, leaving money on the table in what sense?
Opinion,
just like
I'm going to go with it, you know,
leaving money on the table in terms of adoption is lower because there's not this manual for it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that a manual would be great for it. The talks that they were giving at the beginning were awesome, but they're just high level and conceptual. And I mean, I want to say this in a nice way. They might be too close to it. They might, because there's a lot of rhetoric about how it works. Like, oh, an entity is just like a hash map, but it's not like a hash map. It's not the kind of thing where you can just be like, oh, I'll just treat it like a hash map and everything will work out. Entities have a kind of a much different semantics. The datomic model is it remembers novelty, right? So if you have an attribute that has a many arity, meaning you can have many values for that same attribute. If you do the hash map version of set entity, it doesn't actually make it look like what you sent it. It adds stuff to it, right? And so if it's a 1-to-1, right, meaning it's a one arity, it only has one value, then it's going to replace it.
Okay.
But if you have a many, it just adds. It doesn't remove the old ones. It just adds new ones. And so then the next time you do a get on that, a fetch on it, it's going to have the old attributes and the new attributes in a set. And but it's things like that, which like
you have, if you make an entity component, it does do those things.
If you make it, what are they called? Subcomponents. It's going to add more subcomponents.
Yeah.
It doesn't remove the old ones. And so there's I think that they're working on this. They know it's a problem, but like what I'm saying is the way they've talked about it and sold it is different from the way it actually works. And there's a second level of learning you have to go through to kind of realize that, because it's not, I don't know. I think they think it's clear in the docs, but it's probably like, oh, there's a page explaining that. Like, well, you have to read that one page at the right time when you're ready for it. And that's why I say they're too close.
But normally people, like in a company like that, in companies I've worked for, software companies, is that they hire technical writers. So it's a known problem, This is...
And, there's a lot of technical writers who are very good at technical writing who can't get jobs anymore because for some reason that's sort of the thing that gets cut first, even though the investment in technical writing allows you to get more people involved. More people are going to want to use it if they know how to use it and if they have the words to talk about it to their bosses.
I think there are known solutions, but it costs money, and I think it's, again, don't know, it's a small community. I don't know how much, I guess they value features over access. I don't know. It's always a balance, isn't it,
Well,
Kyle mentions Crux in the chat. It's got a similar model to Datomic, but potentially more powerful in the time domain.
I think the model is quite different, actually.
Is it?
Because it's based, the way that Datomic works is that it's based on this transactor technology, whereas Crux is based on Kafka. So all the ingestion is done via Kafka, and then they do replays along Kafka. So
I see.
They have data log though, which is good, but they don't have the same kind of they don't have a schema like Datomic does. So there's no entity attribute value stuff. Everything is schema. I mean, it is literally, you can put a schema on the data post hoc, but it's not.
But it's not part of the database.
It's not part of the database, no. It's basically a document system, so you can put JSON in there or whatever, however you want to organize your documents. You can put even in there. It's not. There is a comparison in the sense that it's like data log. The data log option is there, and also that you can, if you want to, put a schema in there, but it's totally optional.
But it's immutable.
There are many differences, though.
Yeah, you can query it at different points in time. But
it's called bitemporality, so the idea with Datomic is you have this transaction time. So that's always the time that you get in the system, and then you can go backwards and forwards based upon the database at a certain point in time. You can use the database as a value. But with Crux, you have bitemporality, which means it talks about the time that things go in, but you can also add a time, like a business time, as an entity.
Like the time that the money got transferred or something.
Yeah,
like that.
so you can track data along that timeline as well. So that's why it's interesting. Whereas you have to do something special in Datomic to make that happen.
Right.
You essentially have to add a timestamp entity and then query back.
See, these are the kinds of things that it would be useful to be able to read the documentation.
Yes. some actual use cases and like how to do it.
Yeah, I got tripped up recently with the as of the as of tool for Datomic. Like that's really useful. It's really useful to be able to say, show me this database at a point in time and compare the database now to the database at a point in time. And it's really good to have that kind of backwards log that you can do that with, but it's not necessarily easy to grok if you're not used to working with databases like that.
What was the problem now?
Because
essentially you have database 1, database 2, and then you can just say what's the value between this one and that one. You can also do joins, as far as I know.
Yeah, so the problem was I was trying to figure out how to do those joins. And got a little messed up there. Figured it out, but there wasn't really the documentation for it. Yeah. The data log tutorial is really, really good, though. We might want to put a link to that in the show notes. Actually, people haven't seen it. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, I think to me that's one of the big differences is like the way that Datalog works, because that's completely different to anything in Clojure apart from say core match or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, at first I looked at it and I was like, oh, like this kind of looks like Clojure. How hard can it be? But it's it's totally different. We use Clara rules, which is sort of based on that same the kind of logic programming.
Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, I find what's difficult, I mean, again, back to documentation, is all the implied stuff. Like they'll say, oh, here's how you do like a third database. And you're like, but where is it? And like, what are the assumptions you've got here? You know, you have to start it with a $sign and it goes, you know, you have to put it as like the last parameter. And like, there's all sorts of these implied syntax rules in their DSL that I just find are not well written out anywhere. You know, they're like, here, it's like a map, and then the next time they use it like it's a vector, and you're like, but
what is it?
How do they translate between them, and like, what is
why
the
do I have
actual?
to do an F first on everything? You know.
Yes, and then there's like a dot thing, and it's like, okay, but what does it really mean, and when can I use it? When can I not use it? Those were the kinds of things where you just have to experiment, or like you have somehow you get 100 examples and you finally are able to generalize an idea of what to do with it.
But you know, if you are, first of all, if you're using Datomic, like Datomic is being sold as an enterprise solution, right? It's, you know, presumably it's being sold to these places that are going to have to onboard new
They're contracting
devs.
through them anyway.
Yeah, but these places are going to have to onboard new devs pretty regularly. You know, you don't necessarily want someone you're onboarding having to run through 100 different examples to figure out how to use it.
That's why you end up getting one or two people in the company that are really experts at it and keep them.
Tim Baldridge has a pretty interesting comment here in the sidebar. I feel the issue with Datomic is the mismatch between the ideal view of the world and reality. A single time model looks good on paper, but it's hard to use if you have some other time source. A bank can't run on transactor time, it has to run on business time.
That's the Datomic's argument here.
Yeah, Datomic's model breaks down when you try to shoehorn in another time model. What is meant by another time model there?
Well, like I say, if you want to put a timestamp in, like a business timestamp, you have to start putting it. It's a bit of a weird one because where you're going to put it, you have to put it in all of the entities, or
yeah,
I mean, like maybe put some metadata on the transaction.
The classic case,
by the way, you know, you can.
The classic case where a bitemporal database makes a lot of sense is your accountant will sometimes say, hey, can you backdate this payment, right? Like it happened in December of last year, but if we put it in the system now, it'll put today's date on. So backdate it to December because you just forgot to record it or something. And so when did the database learn about it? Today, but it actually, the transaction record, you know, I say transaction, the bank transaction that happened was from December. And so you need to have two notions of time. When did my database learn about it, which is Datomic's transaction time? And then when did it, you know, when does the IRS need to consider it happening?
And that's an effective date or something like that.
Yeah.
So what you do in Datomic is you know, I don't know if you know this, but you can put data, you can attach data to transactions.
Yes.
So you can put effective date in transactions. That's what people do. And you can query the transactions like you're querying other things, but it starts to become problematic because, you know, well, how do I get all of the transactions at that particular effective date?
Yeah, and that is the interesting thing is like you have all these tools where you can add what is essentially metadata to the transaction metadata, but then if you want to query it like data, it becomes difficult.
Well, sometimes it's nice if it really is if it's like essentially atomic or kind of inherent to that transaction. It's where it's trying to be across the entire data set that it's a problem.
I do have to say that Datomic is no worse than other databases for this. It is.
I think the problem
still,
was that it was a bit sold like it was better.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. You know, so.
As of Timothy is talking about how as of is based in Datomic is based on the transactor time. So you could say, what did I know as of the end of the year? But there could be all these backdated transactions that you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really what you want to ask if you're like, give me the activity, all the financial activity for 2018. You want to say, as of today, give me all the financial activity for 2018, which is a different type of query. You're just querying a range over just a regular attribute on the transaction.
I mean, clearly, you can just put effective dates on, on actual data and work it out like that. But then then it's not an inherent time model anymore. It's the database isn't helping you.
Right.
That's the difference. Whereas with Crux, if you use an effective date, then the database will help you. You can do as-ofs on another timeline, basically.
So you can actually use Crux's time querying abilities to get all of the transactions from 2018.
Yeah. And the reason they do that is because the way that Datomic works, essentially all these queries work on essentially these background indexing tasks that merge and mangle all your data so that you can query it along any axis that they support, and one of them is time. Yeah. They have an EAVT, so the T is an index you can reference off. And what Crux do is they have more indexes, basically. They have another index, another time index. They have a transaction time index and an effective time index as well. So it's heavier. It's more expensive to do it that way, but it gives you more flexibility.
Very, very interesting. I still use Postgres though.
I just
mutate everything.
Yeah, but that like things like Postgres and DB2 even and Oracle are getting this thing called SQL 2011 or something like that.
No,
even. I
what
think
is
it's
that?
like, and that has
it's already 8 years old, and they're just now getting to it.
I think it's 2011, but the point is that it has support for time. It has support for as-of queries in the database for relational databases. So
on both, is it bitemporal? Is it as
of? Not bitemporal, bitemporal.
But it's as of the transaction, the time it entered the database.
Yeah.
Which is still useful.
Yeah, very useful. Yeah.
It's useful to know, why did we have a bug last Tuesday? What did the data look like at that time? I
mean, it's much more awkward and horrible to work with bitemporal data in relational databases, but still, the features are coming there. So I think the main point is, whether you work with relational or not, these kind of features are becoming relevant to people. People, want that information, especially, you say, for debug stuff, but also for data science, analytics, those kind of things. People want to see what happened at a particular time, and they want to see the whole picture at a particular time, not just the most recent view. So there's definitely a very powerful perspective on data, for sure.
We have 15 minutes. Are we going to try a REPL? Are we feeling brave, or do we have more that because I know we have a lot of stuff in the show notes.
The only new thing in the show notes that we might want to talk, I mean, there's two. There's the Clojure script is preparing for a release. Is that right, Mike?
Yep, we actually mentioned that last time, but it's still being prepared. Yeah. Still being brewed. Yeah.
And then Gene Kim, who is kind of a famous author in the DevOps space, he wrote a love letter to Clojure. And that was kind of trending for a while. I don't know. Did y'all read it?
I didn't see it, but I saw your note of it, and it looks pretty fantastic, I've got to say.
It's very long, yeah. But he's speaking at the conj. So he and apparently there is Clojure in his new book, which is coming out at the end of the month. So it's a good time for Clojure. It's
always a good time for Clojure. When is it ever a bad time for Clojure?
Last time Clojure was in a fiction book, it was Corinne Meyer's book. Did you all read that one?
Teenage Adventure or something.
Yeah, the young adult. Yeah. I have it over here on my shelf.
Oh, I didn't know she wrote fiction. I'd like to read it. I like her books that she writes that are not fiction.
I think she wrote one for her daughter. So
yeah.
It's got Clojure in it?
Yeah, someone can control computers with her mind, and it's in Clojure.
A mind ripple.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm excited to see what Gene Kim says.
He has like a DevOps background, and he learned Clojure just a few years ago.
And now he's like he says that it's the first language that has let him love programming, which is good. Yeah. And apparently the main character in his new book likes Clojure. What'd you say?
So it's a feeling that I share. I think we've spoken about it as well before. It's that I think I was a C programmer, then a C++, then Java, and then I just got totally sick of it all. If it wasn't for Clojure, I wouldn't be programming. That's for sure.
I started learning Clojure because that guy ran that sentiment analysis on all the subreddits, and Clojure was the happiest subreddit. And I thought, well, shit, I want to be happy.
Result.
But you have to feel the pain first in order to truly be happy. You have to like go program in the sea salt mines for a while.
No.
Segmentation violations right up.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that talk. Just see what it's about, because it says TBD. So, I usually when it says TBD, it's got to be like an invited talk, right? How would they know to accept it?
So then, is it a surprise for us?
I don't know.
Maybe it's full of book spoilers.
Right. And it's got to be also promotional for the book because it's coming out like right after the conference. So, but it's cool. He wrote a really nice thing about Clojure, and it's pretty good and detailed and personal. And it seemed to get a lot of attention to the Clojure community. So that's good.
He has a diagram in the letter that looks like sedimentary rock layers, which when I was kind of scrolling through it, I got excited because I thought it was rocks, but it wasn't. It was just a cumulative lines of code written. But it's very, very pretty diagram. I like it. It looks like rocks.
So he wrote a lot of C and C++ before.
That sounds like he had the same career I did then.
Which is, not the loop that we think of, right? Where it's like, oh, people write Java and then they write Clojure.
Yeah.
Which people?
Well, that's kind of what it's pitched as.
Because you're already on the JVM. And
yeah. It's like, oh, you've been writing Java. Have you tried writing this other thing that isn't Java? It's nice.
Well, yeah, I think it's true.
Well, it seems like this conversation is kind of fading out. Is there no more news? Anyone out there have a question?
Well, were we gonna try the REPL?
Oh, that's right.
Were we gonna try the REPL?
We can try that.
Mike, I want to see the cat.
Oh, you'd rather see the cat than the REPL.
I want to see the cat. Hello. Okay, now I want to see the REPL.
Okay. So I could start one and we could share it. Let's see.
All right. That's a very grumpy looking cat.
Oh, he is happy normally. I guess he's tired.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think he thinks it's a dog. That kind of cat. All right. Let's see. I will start up a regular REPL. Unless
Hey,
Ray, you
Vinicius.
had something to try.
How you doing? Listen to my podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. What is the cat's name?
Darwin.
Hi, Darwin.
Darwin
He does look kind of angry when you show him that. Yeah, he doesn't like to be.
on the spotlight.
Oh,
Yeah, held up to the camera.
like a rifle.
Yeah, he's like, "What are you doing to me?"
No.
Just pet me.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna share. How do we do that? Oh yeah, there's the big share button. Do you see the REPL?
Yes. How do we?
Do you see me evaluating? Well, you can't.
Yes, I see it.
So this is like an old school thing that you start up in a terminal, right? And it just works.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no sharing between it and other things. You can ask my cat to type things into it.
Do we want to go back to using Tmax?
I think you're asking for too much technology.
Tmux it doesn't change like YouTube
Yeah,
changes.
it doesn't change. It worked back 100 years ago when we started using it. So
Yes, it did. Back when Edison was inventing things.
Yeah, it's on the
Finding what Tesla
Telegram.
and-
There's a Telegram Tmux.
I don't remember my Tmux setup, so it would take me.
Yeah,
a while.
well, I mean,
yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. So, I mean, just for people who don't
Mm-hmm.
know, we've been having a lot of trouble in the last few months. We kind of took a break over the summer and everything broke. YouTube no longer does Google Hangouts on streaming live to YouTube. We
because
tried to set.
Hangouts got destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it get shut down?
Yeah.
Wow.
Part of Google Plus shut down.
Man.
So basically, Facebook destroyed us.
But Hangouts, I mean, okay, I don't want to go into that.
I mean, Zoom
Like-
destroyed Hangouts.
It was perfect. I thought it was great, and they just kept changing it. To me, it was like living in the future, because I could be inside a Gmail and see that my friend was online and click a button, and now we're having a video call. Like, come on, that's the future. But now it's like the past, because you're like, oh, what app do I contact this person in, and how do I get the? So
But the future is not email, Eric, by the way. But okay.
email's not going away.
To be
It's not
in
going
email.
away.
I think it's pretty much going away. If my kids never use email, I mean, they use it occasionally to get.
Your kids don't
get
use email
tweets.
because they don't have jobs. Yeah. No kids use email.
I have a job and I almost never use email for my job. Who uses email
Think
for
about
their job
that.
all the time? Not me. I maybe have like 1 or 2 emails a week for work.
Yeah, it's for things where you need a strong paper trail on.
Well,
Email? No.
I use email a lot, but now that I think about it, I don't email any with my friends.
No.
That's weird. I don't really do anything talking with my friends that isn't live. It's all that's weird.
The love
My
letter to Clojure was
dad-
not written in email.
My dad maintains we don't know how many different email lists, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because he thinks that if he starts a blog, the government will target him for telling the truth.
So he just slips under the radar through email.
Through email, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Untraceable.
Totally.
I said, Dad, you know that Gmail's reading those, right?
That's why those adverts are always there. Yeah.
It's not end-to-end encrypted, is it? PGP.
Yeah, that's
Oh man.
All right. Do we have a REPL problem?
We have a 1 + 2. It works.
So Mike,
It works.
there was something we were talking about with someone recently about on another show.
Yeah.
To do with, like, I put it in the chat. It's like, so let's say you have a vector. Let some be a vector of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then that's fine.
Wait,
works,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you just do V, I guess, at the end of it.
Okay. You want that?
Yeah. And
All right.
See what it gives. Yeah. So that's
Okay.
good. Then just put a hash underscore in front of the 1.
A hash, like a pound sign.
A pound sign underscore.
And an underscore like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to get commented out,
yeah.
and you'll just get the 2 going.
Then you do another hash underscore.
Yeah, but back here.
And now don't tell the answer. So what does everyone know is going to happen here?
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's going to comment out. Okay, I
This
have
is
an
very
idea.
useful, actually. I use this all the time, so I'm
I
used
think it's
to
going to
it.
comment out the 1 and the 2.
What do you think, Mia?
Or will it blow up syntax error? You're commenting out the comment, which makes it come back to a 1.
I mean, I would assume that it'd just be a 1. Yeah.
Okay, let's see it.
I was right.
Yeah.
So here's a useful use of this thing.
Okay. Oh, you can comment out the key and the value.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Also,
Yes.
that
With a single
as well, actually.
token. Boom, boom.
Ooh.
Yes.
So how does that work? Can we, is that we macro expand
There's
that?
3 of them, by the way. You can do 3 or 4 or 5. You can do as many as you want. It's not just 1.
So what it does,
it's the next full one, it will comment out.
Yeah, it's a reader thing.
Yeah, I don't think you can macro expand that
Okay.
I don't think you can see it, but what it does is it comments out the next, or I mean, it ignores the next thing that it's going to read, the next expression. Yeah. So if they stack like that, it's probably like it's still waiting for an expression to ignore, So they actually happen like kind of nested order. So the one that ignores the keyword A is the last one. And then the one to the left of it is ignoring the 1. And the one to the left of that is ignoring the B. And then the one to the left of that, the first one, is ignoring the 2.
So what happens if you stick another 1 in there?
It'll.
Ooh, now
You mean
good. Should give a syntax error.
You want this to see what this does?
Yeah.
No.
Do it.
Yeah. So
It ate the delimiter, huh?
Yeah. Just
unmatched delimiter.
What if I add another delimiter?
No.
That's
no.
I'm just trying to.
Well, yeah, but it's funny because
Now you got me thinking. Yeah.
I think that unmatched delimiter is the wrong error message.
Yeah.
I think it's just broken. It's just in a bad state.
Yeah, but you can. The nice thing about it is you can do like left bindings as well. So it's any kind of thing where you've got a pair. Just sort of dropping left bindings is also a nice thing. Key values, yeah. But the reason I was talking about it with someone else is because the interesting question is: do the editors understand it?
Cursive didn't for a while, a long time ago.
For a while,
and
what would understand it
fixed
mean?
it. Well,
does it dim out the things that should be dimmed out?
Right. Yeah. That's all the understanding would really be.
I can check right now. Let me see.
But Emacs gets it wrong, by the way.
Oh,
yeah, I mentioned this to Colin Fleming, and he's like, "What?" And then he went and fixed it in cursive.
Yeah.
All right, time to
I was
see.
talking to.
It dims it out for me.
Because it's fixed now.
Maybe it's just fixed.
And Cider.
Okay.
Oh, Cider's fixed. Okay. Yeah.
It still gives you the parens because they're still significant, right? It still has to.
It doesn't work for me in Spacemacs.
Oh,
it does not. Yeah, it's not working for me in Spacemacs.
What does it do?
It still just dims out the first one.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I've got the little A1, B1, and when it only dims out that keyword A. Even adding a second one to it doesn't dim out the one.
Oh, see, no, you're right. Mine doesn't do the double one.
Yeah.
I was just doing
that's
the
what I'm
single
talking
one.
about, yeah.
Interesting.
So it works in cursive?
Yeah, it works in cursive. Also, it works in VS Code now because we were talking to Peter Stromberg about it, and I was highlighting this thing. That's how I remember it. He was saying that in VS Code it didn't used to work because he did the highlighting for one of them, and then someone said, "Oh, but you're doing it wrong when it's two of them," and so he fixed it. But it's quite it's a little bit of a corner case, so not a very well known little trick. That one.
I mostly just use it for map key entries, key value entries.
I think it's pretty useful.
Wow, that's weird.
Or
Because
let bindings,
I just put a semicolon.
Yeah. But that doesn't work.
If it's on different lines, it's fine.
If it's on different lines,
yeah. If you do like something like that, exactly. So it's good for key, let bindings.
Yeah.
This is a good trick, and if anyone watching this has the power over Emacs.
Yeah, so I've heard that Emacs is really hard to get syntax highlighting to work with stuff that's like this because it uses regexes, and this is not a regexable problem.
No.
Might be wrong.
Anyway, I thought that would get us 10 minutes. So
That's
a good one.
Good one. Oh man, I need to have some. I've been on vacation. I haven't been thinking about Clojure tips and gotchas. I need something for the newsletter coming up.
Yeah. You know this one, Eric. Remember this one happened before.
Yeah.
What does that evaluate? And that one freaks out people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because like in common list, that would have been an error, right?
Yeah.
I remember at first being like, no, I can't do that, but no, it's totally doable.
Yeah. It's like an outlier, I guess, in terms of semantics of what that means.
Right. It's
you have to understand it.
It's like slash for divide. Divide is actually not a valid. I mean, the slash is not a valid symbol character. If you do symbol slash,
like this or
no symbol with a quote with a string slash.
Okay. Yeah. So.
That works, but then if you put like /4, or /a, it won't work. Well, symbol is okay. I have to say, symbol is symbol. It's I said it the wrong thing. I forgot that symbol is like it'll accept anything.
Yeah.
Any string, even if it's not a valid symbol. But yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. It's not a valid token. Now that will do a namespace if you have something on the left and the right.
Okay.
Sounds like we need a new divide.
It really divides the room, this one.
So that's a weird one.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, I got it wrong. Here, like that. I don't even know the syntax. I'm guessing this is the right way to do it.
What does that do? I
so
didn't know that.
It's a special meaning for underscore. It's
man.
It's a special,
to undo the namespace on the map. Oh, that is weird. I did not know that. It works
this way. Can you do?
Man. Do y'all like the new namespace syntax for maps? Do you use it?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
I kind of like it.
I never used it. I don't use many namespace keys.
What I don't use, and I've heard people talking about it, but maybe it's more kind of designy, is the hierarchy of keywords.
Oh yeah.
That's something which I've never used.
Oh, right.
Stuff like that.
What is that keyword? Extends or
derived?
Derived. Yeah, I don't use that.
That's weird.
Anyone in chat use that?
Derives.
And then use it in an
actual
in a multi-method.
So the example I know of is from a library by James Reeves on top of component. And what the hell is it called now? That library on top of component. It begins with an I think, but
Oh, integrant?
Integrant, yes.
We use that actually,
yes.
but we don't actually use the derived for it.
Well, no, he uses it. So
In
he
integrant.
can tell which
internally
thing that is.
Derive tag parent. So if I do derive A from B, oh, it needs a namespace?
Yeah, it won't let you do it on bare ones or simple keywords.
Okay, and now what do I do with that? Now that they're derived.
Well, you can do things like is on it.
Ah. You
can have, any kind of like hierarchy.
XA.
How do you spell is?
Is a question mark.
Oh, of course.
No, is a no dash.
Is a, that's better. Okay. Yeah. A is a B. Yeah. And that affects multi-method lookup, right? Is that what you?
Yeah.
That's where it kind of comes into life.
Yeah.
That's odd.
It's like there's these little features in Clojure that are off on the periphery that you don't know.
Yeah.
That were kind of like a big deal. I mean, I remember him, Rich Hickey, giving a talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Or he mentioned it in a talk where he's like, I'm trying to separate out the idea of hierarchy from the dispatch. And and from type. Like, why is it that only types are in a hierarchy when hierarchy is a useful concept by itself? And so, I
must admit, I didn't really know multi-method so very well at the beginning. I think no one does, but now I'm getting into it. I really like the fact that you can dispatch on literally anything.
Yeah.
So you can just dive deep into a map, or not even
right
deep into a map, but you can dive into a map and just say,
you can calculate something.
You can calculate something. I mean, this is really amazing, actually. It's mind blowing once you really grok it. I think it's fantastic.
You can dispatch on a tuple.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you read about them, you'll see a lot of people saying that they're slow. But then, you don't need everything to be fast. You get this nice flexibility out of this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do see a lot of people overusing them though. They use them as kind of like a conditional.
Actually, I have a situation where what I do is in a default method, the one that actually does the thing, I do checks inside of the dispatcher. So before I dispatch it to the multi-method, I will check certain things inside of the default method. That's a really nice thing then, because you save each of the methods from doing those checks. There's no boilerplate to pass around. So for instance, you can check specs on an input, and then that it's passed the spec, so you can even take a key out of the spec map and then use that as a discriminator on the multi-method. I think it's really nice, personally. It's a nice use case. No?
Yeah, I've used them when they seemed like appropriate. I want an extensible dispatch. Yeah.
Open-ended kind of thing. Yeah.
Open, meaning another namespace can add to it.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I find that's a bit annoying about it is that you can't introspect it. So that's if you want to check what vars are in a namespace, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't redefine well. Meaning
in a REPL, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it doesn't work well with our REPL-driven development because, I've looked at it. The def generic, what it does is it just checks is the var already there. If it is, don't do anything.
You know what you can do to fix that?
What?
You know how you can fix that?
You can blow away the var.
Yes, you have to blow away the var and then redefine it, but it's not very obvious. Yeah.
Right.
You have to do it manually. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be clever, or you want to be careful in some cases doing things that are too clever in case you get hit by a bus and someone else has to look at this multi-method.
Did that happen to you?
It's only when you're in a REPL. It's okay.
Who were you in that story?
You're typing in a REPL while you're crossing the road. Maybe
you got hit by the bus because you weren't looking. where you were going.
I mean, really, it's that's that's Darwin. That's his cat. You know?
Bus factor is real.
Bus factor is real.
I mean, I just mean the multi-methods themselves are quite simple, but if you want to redefine them at the REPL, you have to undefine the var basically.
Yeah.
Reestablish it because that's not very obvious.
Or you could break it all apart. I think I've done that before, where it's like the dispatch function is defined elsewhere, so I can change it, and then, which I find I do a lot anyway. I start pulling stuff out and naming it, and that lets me redefine it.
But if you want to re-implement one of the dispatched, if one of the def methods, then you're kind of screwed unless you again.
Multi-methods are like optimized for correct code.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Not for REPL-driven development.
You have to get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Protocols too. Protocols have this similar issue.
There's someone. So I didn't do Java before this, so the protocols were really confusing for me at first.
I'm not a huge fan of the protocol, to be honest.
I think they're great if you've got a bunch of Java types you have to redefine.
Yeah.
Or extend.
Yeah.
Using libraries from other.
Boilerplate though. If you just, it's great for that kind of use case, but as a general rule, you don't need them, I think.
Well, there's a lot of boilerplate in Java. Like that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Don't
bring it along if you don't have to, I suppose, is my point.
Yeah.
Don't put boilerplate on yourself unless it's imposed.
Totally agree. Like any indirection really has to pay its own way.
Yes.
And protocols are just another indirection.
Yeah. Well said.
Often you can just use an if statement and you'll be fine.
If I were writing a program, I would simply always choose the correct abstraction the first time. All right, I gotta go.
Great way to end it.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
I thought, why don't I just choose it like the third time? I'll give it two other things first.
Don't just always know what your data should look like. It's just data.
Yeah.
All right. On that note.
Okay, who knows how to end this?
Say goodbye.
Yeah, everyone subscribe. That way you'll figure out before we know
this is
what
the
YouTube link is going to work.
This is late binding, isn't it? This is the ultimate in late
You'll get a
binding.
message. It's message passing.
Yes.
It's a distributed system.
Small talk style. Yeah.
Yeah, I should subscribe to this so I can figure out where the video is.
Like, yeah, Mia, it's time. Subscribe to it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Later on.